Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. This week we are talking about the elusive, the mysterious, the noble unicorn. And here on Thursday, it being Third Pillar Thursday, third pillar referring to the third pillar of exploration in tabletop RPGs, especially, of course, Dungeons and Dragons. Now, the third pillar of exploration is the type of um, involves the landscape, exploring the world. Hey, thanks for showing popping in on a daily basis now, Lloyd. Cam, what's going on there, guys? For those who do not know, this long form podcast airs on Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server. At least the audio gets punched out there. You can participate in the show any way you wish. All right. And here on Third Pillar Thursday, this is like my bread and butter. It's the thing I like to talk about. It's my specialty. Even written a couple of books, a couple of 9 books about it with Critical Hit Publishing. But that being said, Third Pillar Thursday deals with exploration, and I thought we could kind of go through a bit of the rundown for unicorns, because that's what we're talking about this week for exploration. So overall, let's stay on the outskirts of the the unicorn's domain. So for me, one of the things about the unicorn and talking about exploration is simply before the players even get to where they need to go to even find a unicorn, is hearing all the legends, right? So your players may have to travel to a distant land or scout out a local village or maybe even a major city. Just hearing legends, piecing together the lies from the truth, finding out about rumors. Exploration sometimes isn't necessarily, primarily it may be the physical representation of throwing on the backpack and exploring an unknown region, but exploring the social dynamic is also pretty important. So finding an old sage may be important, or an ancient document, or maybe even an individual that confronted a unicorn and hasn't spoken of it for 20 years or something like that. Yeah, Cap. I'm pretty sure unicorn's uniform would be a unitard. Oh man, funny. But uh, yeah, yesterday. Sorry, just a little bit from yesterday. I was talking. I didn't get to this point, so I am segueing a little bit. Tesla Ranger popped into the Discord about the unicorn clan from Rokugan, and it just made me think about the tribal aspect of people living in a world, because yesterday was World Building Wednesday, of people living in a world where you have these apex, I was going to say apex predators, but apex um, mythological animals dominating the world, and the people living in and around them, finding tribal peoples associating themselves with each of them. So it says the unicorn are the finest cavalry in all of Rokugan. The unicorn were considered barbarians by most of the other Rokugani clans. They spent 800 years outside the empire, exploring the burning sands and other lands, and Rokugan's cultured society believed, in spite of the 2 centuries since their return, they still have not relearned the civilized ways of their motherland. The clans could not be more wrong. The unicorn know the ways of their cousins, but choose to follow their own path, influenced by their contact with Gaijin cultures. Because of this, they were held in low regard by many, but nonetheless were feared for their military might. Their battle cry was, "We are the people of the wind." And I, for me, it may be necessary for the players to, hey, find people who are dedicated, or their culture is wrapped around this mythological unicorn, this mythological animal or beast. Now, remember, while we are talking specifically about unicorns, because that's the whole point of this week, there may be other mythological monsters of a similar nature. Like I was thinking of the phoenix comes to mind, or um, the Chirin or celestial dragons come to mind. Although Chirin more or less falls into that category than a celestial dragon, because it seems like you could kind of sit down and have a conversation with the celestial dragon. But that being said, finding discovering and finding the clues that will lead you to one of these apex mythological creatures, either to hunt it down, to kill it, or find its lair, or to get one feather from the storm crow or whatever, or something like that, might be necessary to explore quite a bit. Um, like the Jarl DM says, a unicorn makes a really impressive mount. A paladin on a unicorn sends a clear message of the righteousness of a character. Oh, hells yes. It's mentally, like we talked about yesterday a little bit, like mentally you get this image of the maiden coming down off the back of the unicorn. And the unicorn almost never has a saddle, right? They never have a bridle. It's like the only way you could even ride one or mount one is if it agrees to be mounted. It's almost it's far less a mount or a pet in you. It's more or less it's far more of a yeah. The paladin gets off the unicorn. It's like, yeah, you ain't just talking to me. You got to deal with him too, right? It's kind of one of those things. And yes, a a a character who's able to even claim they had connection to one, let alone having one, riding up to the local village and getting off the back of one. Yeah, like Cameron says, consent is important. Hells yes. The unicorn dismounts from the paladin. That's my mount. Humans like, look, I said I'd be fair. You can ride me anytime you want to. Unicorn's like, hells yeah. Anyway, so the oh man, my mind just went to a dark place. Anyway, the okay, so the player characters have gathered the information they need. So now they need to explore, travel to, gather their belongings and travel to the location of the unicorn. And classically, we think of the unicorn as being in a, ooh, there we go. Dead Man lists the great clans of Rokugan, the minor clans, and historical minor clans. It's a lot of them, and I love the idea of the animals they're associated with, because like in Dungeons and Dragons, I've always wondered why, with a world that has such iconic Dungeons and Dragons creatures, why aren't there like monk clans associated with them, or paladin clans associated with like owlbears and pegasi and all that kind of stuff? But yeah, a lot of these are like natural animals, but the originals were like the clan. I mean, excuse me, and the clans were the crab, the crane, dragon, lion, mantis, phoenix, scorpion, spider, and unicorn. And you see how like dragon, phoenix, and unicorn are kind of slipped into there. And then the minor clans: badger, bat, dragonfly, the hare, monkey, oriole, ox, sparrow, tortoise. And we've got yep. They were the minor clans. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Zero puts in a map of the outer lands where the our tribal people would sit, creating this tribalized setting, which I love. Yeah, your all DMs like the Scorpion clan is the best clan. Yeah, I'm a I honestly I am a unicorn and a sparrow fan. Um, just because I like the RP drama of it, backing yourself into a corner by making promises to people you maybe shouldn't. Your DM says, I would imagine a unicorn's domain to be especially verdant and bountiful, big fat bees that make sweet honey, deer that are unafraid of people with branches for antlers, even music in the air. I'm very much like that. Yeah. Gaster Two Soul says, "Yeah, probably because the Scorpion Clan is in the middle of bumfuck nowhere." Yeah, they're out there. They kind of need to be. Um, the Going off of what the Jarl DM says, like wherever the unicorn's domain is, not only do I think it would be verdant and bountiful, which itself might be like it might be so bountiful that it is the unicorn and the things there. It could be like a drug where instantly they know that when people go there to try to uh, rape the land of its resources, they they can easily tell the difference of who should be there and who shouldn't be there. It's like the television shows with the hidden camera, and someone will say, "Hey, this table full of food. Yeah, please don't touch it." And then they sit somebody down right next to it, and of course they're sitting there for hours and they're hungry, and of course the camera catches them grabbing a piece of cheese or something, and we get to laugh at their indiscretions. The same thing might be happening in these verdant woodland areas where the unicorn is, where it's a bush that grows good berries. Hey, let's grab as many as we can. And of course, the unicorn sitting back like, you mother. Oh, I know. Oh, if you don't put that back. Oh, if I have to. Oh, if my teeth clench too much and I finish a full sentence, I'm gonna go kick your. Oh, if you. Ah. It's like a angry parent looking at their kids like, yeah, I'm gonna spank that ass. Jarl DM says nature might actively try to protect the unicorn. Trees create unexpected barriers. Rivers swell to stop characters with evil intent crossing. Heavy rain follows these characters wherever they go. Yep, I'm with you on that. And not only would it be a woodland area, but the place would probably be so overgrown that there, even if you tried to make a pathway, the only navigatable pathways would be the ones that the unicorn or even the very nature around it would allow to happen. So I could imagine even PCs trying to hack their way through the dark woods would probably turn back, and the pathway they hack through is all grown in and overgrown and whatnot. Hell yeah! Even open up your monster manual, pull out some of your most dangerous plants. They're probably there. They've got to be assassin vine and overgrown foliage and what is shambling mounds, here and there, uh, treants grasping at the PCs as they try to make their way through. And even if they're not actively alive and sentient, I'm pretty sure it's probably far more dangerous than difficult terrain. And as a matter of fact, the terrain itself might be pretty hazardous with steep hills. Like you said, torrential rain might make places muddy. Um, you know, raging rivers filled with ankle breaking stones in it. I, I'm thinking of a place that would be not just verdant and full of life, but in a strange way, not necessarily easily habitable for human beings unless they dropped their pseudo civilized pre preconceptions, their notions of what civilization would be, and if they're able to go back to nature, if they're able to tap into maybe their ancient tribal roots, they probably would have a very easy time living there. But if you're trying to bring your own industry into the woods, try to build a house, nope, it's going to fall down. Try to cut down the woods, nope. For some reason things happen to go wrong, you know. And I'm imagining like the woods itself, like you said, would be actively working against the invaders. Maybe in the beginning it seems like it's all bad luck. We this is the third tree we chop down, and it's filled with bugs, and we're just getting attacked by hives of bees and ants and beetles and things. And someone's like, yeah, we're destined to live here. This is my part of my realm. Cut it down. And they're like, all right. And they keep trying to start a fire and burn the place down. It won't work. And then while the the crew that's trying to break into the place sleeps overnight in their tents. One by one, they get grabbed by the ankle and snatched away by the animals in the woods and whatnot. Like, yeah, it'd probably be pretty dangerous. Um, Gaster Two Soul says, I imagine unicorn tribes' land would be mostly heavily wooded areas, along with a rather large lake, allowing them to get some amount of water out of it. I'm thinking a lake or a bubbling brook, probably, and there may even be like there in the center of it. There might even be like uh, a protected glen of sorts where the unicorn and maybe some of its allied animals and or fey creatures could gather together just for conversation and community, talking with the neighbors and things like that. Yeah, Gasper says the Thunderbird tribe lives in an almost muddy area with large amounts of rain and mountainous terrain, allowing the Thunderbirds to nest upon. Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm with you on that. I can imagine. Sure, it might be inhospitable for humanity, but for the apex animals, not a big deal at all. Cameron says uh, there's a giant carnivorous flower in Pathfinder called a moonflower that flashes light to blind prey, then swallows them, deposits them into a paralyzing digestive pod, then ejects that pod away. Yeah, I love it. Oh, look at that giant flower with its pods of pollen, and you look closer through the membrane, and you're like, are those skeletons in there? That's weird. Jarl DM says a unicorn's innate goodness might mean that the terrain gives the characters three chances to prove themselves, like tests or moral quandaries that test the character's intent. Um, yeah, I'm with you on the being tested more than the physical, like tested emotionally, or there might even be like a moral test of sorts. The birds are mockingbirds are engaged in creating the sound of people in trouble, and the PCs are trying to take their ill-gotten gains across the raging river, and they hear the yells of victims or children or something like, help, save me, help. And if the PCs are like, screw that, we got to get our gold across the river, or they go, you know what, let's stop here and go investigate what's going on, that might be a little bit of a test. And there might be things further into it. Yeah. And like your all DM says, unicorns being basically horses probably prefer plains and wide open spaces for galloping. Yeah, and you never know. Like for all of plains, mountains, coastal regions, deserts, jungles, for all of their nature, there are plenty of dangers, even in open plains and rolling hills and things that we often overlook. And I'm sure a lot of that would absolutely come to bear on the player characters. Like, going back to the player characters create a camp, and all of a sudden, like, I wasn't the druid's like, I I didn't expect a torrential rainstorm, and all of a sudden, like the rain's flowing sideways from the high winds, and it blows their tent over, and they're like shivering in the cold weather that's like blasting their bodies and destroying their camp and putting the fire out. And just on a hill, a range just far enough to be seen, but not able to get close enough, the unicorn just like rears up on its hind legs and then runs away, disappearing over the crest of the hill. And the peas are just shaking their heads like, it's been a week of this, man. I can't take it anymore. um, mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Now, the the for the physical parts of the exploration of finding and tracking down a unicorn, like I'm sure a little bit of the the teasing might be happening with the unicorn, knowing that these invaders are going into their land, and the unicorn might be specifically setting, almost railroading the players into a location to find out what they can, how they can pass a certain location. Like, for example, if you've ever seen documentaries on military training, and they have the obstacle courses, and a number of those obstacle courses require teamwork to get across. So one of the tests might be, are these people out, are they backstabbing each other, are they conniving, or are they actually trying to work together? And a number of the locations, like a sheer cliff, but we have no ropes to climb up the cliff. Okay, well, hey, let's stand on each other's shoulders to get to the top, and then one person gets to the top and lends a hand down, and blah blah blah. Like, it might be a bit of that, or the rickety old rope bridge to get across the dangerous gorge, and who goes across first, and are they brave enough to go across? Like, there might be a number of those things. There might even be bits and pieces of hints of treasure or valuable items, or things that people have wanted, that are the unicorn leads them past. And if the PCs are drawn towards it, and they show their greed, or uh, they show a desire to destroy that which is very valuable or beautiful. A verdant field of flowers, maybe just smelling literally sitting back and smelling the flowers might be the good thing. But picking those flowers, or maybe ignoring the flowers, or just being like, let's burn this field of flowers, might be the worst thing to do. Um, yeah, Gasper's talking about the different tribes and such. Yep, yep, yep. The Wendigo tribe lives in a old and cold tundra with some dead trees and a few rivers. It's all cold and dead, and you're shocked these people survive. Not only also being forced to deal with the Wendigo, which could try to eat them if they get a little peckish. Yeah. Tests of heck. The player characters might have even been told that there might be, like, the unicorn will test you. There will be a test of your fortitude, thrice given over 3 days hence, or something like that. Some strange omen, or a riddle, or something like that. And the player character is like, okay, today is day one. What's going on now? And then day two. And all right, let's sit down and have our encampment. And they go to reach for their rations, and the rations are like, there's nothing but ants and beetles having eaten, and it's like rotted. And they're like, oh man, all right, we need to eat. And they look around at this place, and they're like, okay, what's the test here? Like, well, they've got these berries and seedlings and things like that. They look pretty good. One person's like, I think you need to stay away from that, you know? Or maybe there's this chance that the players may not be able to leave the more that they delve into, the more they eat of the they eat some of the foliage and things like that. There's a strange change that goes through them. Um, you guys are still in the world building. Yeah. Cameron says there could be a psychic ninja clan that lives in a forest known as the Clan of the Sasquatch. That's pretty bad there, dead man. Yeah. Before we started, there was in the Discord, it was an image posted of a unicorn with a chainsaw instead of its horn. That's pretty powerful. I mean, pretty not just powerful, but dangerous. Bloody even. Now, um the player characters might even come across other individuals that might have even gotten lost in these woods. And so, far more than just physically, like, oh, we need to go across a river and climb up a cliff and navigate a steep hill and hack through the woods. There may even be, and weather, right? High winds, a lot, torrential rain. There may even be an emotional or a psychological aspect to this of, hey, you know what? That PC that never gets lost? you're going to have to make navigation rolls. Or maybe the sounds in the woods, people hear the sounds of their murder victims or something, or failures from their past, and they hear the voices in the winds or something. There might even be maybe getting to the glen or the glade where there's an expanse or an opening. They may even find the um, ghosts of the people they've lost in their past, or were unable to save or something, confronted by, almost as if each player is confronted by their own demons, even though collectively in a group they may be gathered together. And the unicorn uh, making its own judgments, or um, it might even be something where the, it's not necessarily the unicorn judging the player characters, but they are an agent of that judgment. The unicorn just happens to be that agent, right? You know, um, yeah. Gaster says perhaps they eat a lotus flower and they feel a little funky, and the more you eat it, the you feel more and more sleepy, and then you finally go to sleep and occasionally wake up to eat more of these flowers until you die from malnutrition and sloth. I mean, there might be lots of, like, what is it, the seven deadly sins? Maybe the players are these dark woods challenge you on a thing. Your laziness, your greed, your jealousies, that kind of thing. Yeah, I could see something like that. Also, navigating this realm, like, who's to say that the creatures that you fight there, living in their natural habitat, aren't going to use that to their advantage? Like, a heavy, maybe the woods are so thick that opportunity attacks are like impossible, or they're at disadvantage because every time you turn around to go after someone or something that disengages from you or passes you by, the woods are so thick and heavy, you can't swing your weapon around to attack the passing creature or something. Maybe the woods act as a half cover, three quarters cover for everybody in it, because the archer in the group just can't get a bead on anything beyond a certain distance because there's just too much foliage going around. Or um, the players are in the open plains and they see the unicorn, maybe even running as a larger group, or there might even be other equine creatures there. But of course, the 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 animals there, the giant herd knows exactly where to step their foot, but it might be broken land, dusty. Dust might be kicked up. There could be like little dust devils and whatnot, quicksand, tar pits, salt flats, um, all those things. Heck, even heavy winds themselves, depending on how powerful the winds are, it's pretty detrimental for your average ranged combatant and whatnot. So, also all the living creatures there that live under the ground, in the trees, um, behind the rocks, all that kind of stuff. Uh, anything that burrows through the ground might be dangerous as well. There are no rules for it, but I can imagine anything that burrows in the ground, like your purple worms, your boulets, might be undercover until they're able to crest the earth and pull the PCs down into it, and the unicorn just sitting back laughing on the ridge, like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have followed me. I kind of warned you. Um, Camera says I could see a unicorn's teleport ability being reflected in its lair. Maybe invisible portals keep offenders within a certain area where they can't do the forest harm, almost as if they are subtly walking, like, as they walk through the woods, they happen to step through when they turn the corner to pass a tree, they end up getting transported somewhere else in the woods. I actually feel that. Yeah, heck yeah. Um, yeah, absolutely. Hmm. Now, Gaster says your wrath, your lust, all of it. Maybe the cave is possibly representative of regret. We have to let go of our baggage as we realize we have to move forward. For that is the way of the unicorn. Hmm. I could see that. I could see, like, the PCs go to get shelter in the cave, and while they're sleeping, there's like They have night sweats because they're all going through they're all going through a test to leave their regrets in the cave in the first place, which is why there happens to be no one in the cave, right? Otherwise, why wouldn't there be animals or other tribal people living in the cave? And they're like, you better not go there. Much like the Jedi test on Dagobah, right? Like, Yoda says, uh, lightsaber, there's no need for it, whatever. And he's like, nah, I'm taking this with me. Don't tell me what to do. Act like you're a Jedi master, whatever. Featherfall says, since unicorns are celestials, what would a fallen unicorn be like? Well, we um, classically in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I believe between second and third edition, there were a number of various unicorns. Unicorns bred with Pegasi that would have wings. There's a unicorn bred with a nightmare with the flaming hooves and the black fur and that kind of thing. Probably a blood stained or even a crimson horn. So I'm a fallen unicorn. Yeah, of course. Definitely allies of fiendish creatures from the lower plane. So on this world, I could see even like a blackened wood that's been burnt out or dead trees. Yeah, a nightmare. Yep. Cameron's like, when unicorns have prophetic dreams, are they called univisions? Yeah. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. um, Gaster Two Soul says a shooting star that shines like 1,000 diamonds exploding in a in a gas leak fire inside of a jewelry store. Yeah, shooting stars. Lots of. I'm thinking unicorns themselves are like omens. So maybe, despite being in a wild area, things are placed in a way as if they are handmade to be there, right? So when the players go through a valley and they look up and they see, a thousand stones precariously balanced on the edge of the rocks, as if they are just about to fall with a nice little breeze. There's a reason why it's there, right? Like, I don't think a human hand did that, but why is it specifically set up to stop us? Yeah. Yeah. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, um, I think a fallen unicorn. It's possible that a unicorn that has established a relationship with humanity, and maybe that human or that humanoid has fallen, and the unicorn has fallen with them. Like maybe a fair maiden has succumbed to its darker impulses, becoming like an old hag in the woods, who, of course, can shape change into a beautiful maiden, but her real image is of this old dark hag, and the unicorn uh, sticking by the evil maiden now that she's become like this old hag. Each day just prays, just hopes that the dark maiden would go back to her peaceful self, but just hasn't. And the unicorn's like regretful and now is filled with the same kinds of things. Or it could be a unicorn pushed to the point of violence, because most of the capabilities of the unicorn are pretty defensive: healing, teleporting, finding ways to navigate the world in a way where it can't be found, has a defensive aura, all that kind of stuff. But if it's pushed to violence, like bees that die when they sting to defend the hive, maybe the unicorn knows that if it's pushed to violence, or so much violence, that maybe it will be a fallen unicorn, you know, if it isn't killed outright. Or maybe they're extremely vulnerable to darker impulses, and so they want to stay away from the darker tendencies of humanity because they are very sensitive to it. I don't know. There's a number of reasons why they would fall, and I think they probably make pretty good like legends or story elements or something like that. Like Jarl DM says, it might depend on the manner of its fall. If it's celestial, so it might become fiendish or demonic or an aberration. What Cameron says, what about an undead unicorn? Um, it could turn into like a white or even something new. Yeah, banshified, or what is it? The maybe it's instead of healing, it has like the touch of the mummy rot or something. I can imagine that, or hell, a fiends that capture. It might be something that fiends do, where they try to capture these celestial unicorns for no other reason than to bring them down into the abyss or the hells or whatever, the Tartarus or whatnot, for no other reason than to corrupt them because it's like fun to do. It's like a badge of honor. That might be a reason why a unicorn would fall. And Featherfall says, I don't know. I know this doesn't contribute to the conversation, but I have a concept. I know fallen celestials that turn evil exist, but what about ascended fiends that turn good? You know, twisting this into our own conversation today, there might even be a celestial unicorn. I mean, a unicorn having celestial ties might be on a mission to lead fiends or fiendish allied individuals on a path to goodness, right? Like they don't unknowingly they are going after the unicorn because of their jealousy or their envy or their rage or whatever the case may be. Maybe just a simple desire to want to kill and destroy something that just happens to be so angelic in its nature. Yeah, Gaster's like a zombicorn. Yeah, pretty. I think it would be pretty nasty to have an undead unicorn, but yeah, the spirit of one or the unfinished a unicorn killed. The fiends have the feast of the unicorn, but the unicorn spirit is still around. I don't know. Y'all, DM says a nightmare that has become goodly. Its flaming mane now iridescent rainbow colors. Yep, surrounded by a bunch of bronies. Uh, yeah. My power is friendship. My power is joy. Yeah. Oh no, but yeah, there might be a series of trials that if a fiend or fiendish allied individual goes after the unicorn, that over time separate it from its intrinsically evil allies and land that once separated, they are able to get a new look. So we often don't tell that story, but yeah, I could see ascendant fiendish beings or creatures. Why not? I think it's a great idea. Ooh, Dead Man posts an awesome picture in the Discord for an undead unicorn. Yeah, and that please don't touch me with that horn. Gaster Two Soul says, I just love the idea of a unicorn wearing a white sheet over it with two eye holes inside, like a stereotypical ghost. The cloven hooves underneath it. Some random sheet that poked his horn through. Like, I'm a ghost. And everyone's like, yeah, right, put that down. Featherfall says, an ascendant demon might be a neat concept and a good layered um, and, and a good layered dualistic character. There's a comic book series where it was something similar to that. Boo! Scrape, scrape, scrape. Yeah. There was a Catholic priest that wanted to exorcise a demon from an innocent person, and the Catholic priest invited the demon, the fiendish thing inside of him. So then he was walking around like shirtless with like red skin and black oily hair and those classic demon horns on his head. Part of it was like a superhero heroic comic book. I can't remember the name of it, but but I remember the origin of this Catholic priest that where the demon went inside of him. He was kind of like had all the powers of the demon, but this demonic creature inside of him, but he was fighting for the side of goodness. Um, I could imagine. I could even see a unicorn living in a realm, like a unicorn having moved into a dark wood that is slowly transforming the place, and so there may even be these dark, evil creatures that live in the woods that are now allies of the unicorn because they're like, the unicorn might not be violent, but the big old hell pit fiend is like, hell no, you ain't touching him. What did you do? What did you do? Did you just peek next to a tree? Pull your pants down now and see what happens, right? Like, so yeah, I could imagine a unicorn having allies of different monstrous creatures, a clan of ogres that normally are brutal or like sitting in the woods and are meeting out justice, and the unicorn comes by after they beat ass, and the unicorn just shakes his head and walks away, and and the ogre's like, sorry boss, didn't mean to do that, sorry. Yeah, Featherfall's like, shadow demon vigilante, here I come. Yeah. All right, so going on to squirrel. So getting back to these realms, these locations of of the environment. This is a good opportunity to not just have the natural environment, but have elements where you can stack and layer things in the environment on purpose as the player characters get closer and closer, right? The idea of the thick woods getting thicker and thicker as they try to hunt down the unicorn, or the torrential rain happens to keep coming in. The players might actually figure out, like, you know what? Maybe it's because of our behavior that we keep hitting all of these barriers instead of the fact that, like, why? How is it that we have heat, hail, rain, mudslides, flash floods, uh, earthquakes, rock slides, thick woods, swarms of insects? Like, how? There's no way all this is happening like one right after another, and then they realize, like, oh, yeah, maybe it is us. Or a Feywood, like a Feywild region, might have a number of seasons pass by moment. Like, all of a sudden it's spring, and the PCs are like, wow, we can barely move through the woods. And then it's summer and the heat beats down. It's like, man, I'm getting dehydrated. Wow, I can barely see, the sun is so bright. And then the very next round of combat, it's like the fall, and there's wind blowing and leaves blowing everywhere. They're all golden and orange and russet and sienna colored, flowing in and around the PCs. And they're like, I can't see the woods, and oh, there's a fallen branch, watch out. And then it's wintertime. Just the very next round is like a blizzard hits, it's freezing. The fingers are like are freezing cold, snow piled up to the knees and higher, trying to push through the winds and stuff as their face is covered with snow, and their breath is coming out cold. And then, of course, by the fifth round, it goes back to spring again, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Yep, getting a little frostbitten. And you know me, like, I love using the environment. Like, maybe frostbite prevents you from using manual dexterity, like a skeleton unicorn. Oh, he's got a little balloon. He's still nice. Still holding on to those good vibes, right? But yeah, getting like frostbite prevents you from using like thieves' tools or somatic spells, or maybe disadvantage and all of those things, or it might drop your weapons or something because your hands are frozen, or you can't feel the thing that landed. You can't feel your feet, so it's difficult for you to hold your balance or something. High winds blowing physical ranged things out of the way. Might even, heck, that fireball that you summoned and you love to throw might get blown away or unraveled in the high winds or whatnot. Yep. Skeleton unicorn. Yeah. Now, um, talking about fallen unicorns, skeleton unicorns, zombicorns, maybe the player characters are allies of the unicorn itself. Like we were yesterday, combining what we talked about yesterday about creating a world where they exist, and the player character's mission might be to settle the spirit of the unicorn or unicorns themselves, with a power that's evil enough to corrupt or corrupt the unicorns themselves, as a symptom of, you know what, this might be, if it can corrupt a unicorn, this is going to spread even further. Or heck, even the whole point of destroying the zombicorn, or killing the dark, corrupted unicorn, it wants to be freed, or the other unicorns themselves are like, you know what, that's our ally. And even though we don't have a language to talk to you with, even though it does understand lots of languages, you need to put it out of its misery. And the PCs are like, all right, going on a mission. Sorry, we'd love to save your soul, but we have to put you down, Like Gaster Wood says, a rainy day. Your dexterity and agility are temporarily lowered by minus 12, 12. To cure this, warm up by a fire. Yep. Yep. Skelecorn. Can I get a bag of Skelecorn? I'm going to go watch a movie. Buttered Skelecorn. Heck, there might even be something riding in the rib cage of a Skelecorn. Could be something, I don't know, snakes, evil fae. Who knows? There's all kinds of things that it might have eaten and is still stuck inside of it. What is that, dead man? Oh, you're probably thinking of something else. Now, further acts of exploration also might be that the player characters, instead of handing out like potions or scrolls or other magic items or boons, maybe the player characters find they're on their destination to hunt down the unicorn, and the unicorn founds them an ally. Maybe there are things out in the woods that the PCs find as a boon for themselves, like going back to the golden stream, which like Cam's like, you don't want to drink anything that's golden and streaming, but you get my point, right? You drink the golden fluid, and everyone's like, ew, and you're like, you know what, this healed me, and they're still like, so what? Ew. The golden stream, the PCs are like, we found the fountain of youth, and you get to the end of to the head of the stream, it's just a unicorn with his leg up peeing, and they're just like, well, I kind of get it. Or what's the commercial of the spotty potty or whatever it is, getting ice creams out of the soft serve from the unicorn. Gasper's like, don't make me lose my appetite for this. Oh man, soft serve from a unicorn's rear end. Do I have some on my chin? Sorry. So I mean, there's like, for example, maybe the players a uh, a naturalistic player character, instead of finding a magic sword, a tree branch is they find a tree branch, and that tree branch is, an automatic shillelagh spell, or that branch is really a rod or a wand or a staff that has certain special abilities. Again, finding that bush of naturally growing good berries, or a glen that protects them, like a sanctuary spell, or maybe any number of monsters or creatures or something. Like they see a leopard walks around a tree, and the PC goes after the leopard, and on the other side of it is a small little figurine, and they grab the squatty potty. That's it. Soft serve. Yeah. Taste the rainbow. Oh, funny. Gaster's like, Druid says, at least the golden river, at last the golden river of Midas. It's time for me to drink. Sip. It tastes like piss. Pan over to random guy taking a leak in the river and panning over. Random guy's like, go piss somewhere else. Unicorns inviting the storm giant to piss in the lake yet once again. Storm giant's like, always good to help out. Thanks. Oh man. We found the waterfall. That's not a waterfall. Uh yeah, don't touch that squirrel's nuts. Squirrels are shaking his head like, oh man. Now, I guess further into the explorative elements of it, challenging whether a player character gets lost in the dark woods, with the woods actively either preventing them from leaving or preventing them from going in deeper because they keep circling back around to where they once were, might be an issue. Maybe certain types of magic are not done or are unable to be cast in the way that they normally are able to. Like, hey, if you're a storm cleric or a druid and you're trying to do something very dangerous in the woods, the unicorn's like, you know what? You need to cut that out. You can go back to your destructive ways somewhere else, but around here, we don't take kindly to lightning bolts and thunder waves and all that other kind of business. Never sap tack a squirrel. Narwhals. Yep. Other unicornic mythological creatures in our real world, of course, narwhals, which do have a long horn on them, have been thought of as like basically the aquatic unicorn. So these other unicorns, what do they say? Dungeons and Dragons has upwards of 15 or more unicorns. So they all don't have to live in and around a heavily wooded region. Although we tend to associate them as sylvans, but the same types of mythological creatures living on, high in the mountains or in the desert or something. Very much, we could absolutely prefer to have them in a place where the PCs are going. Like if you're doing the Age of Piracy, and there are aquaticorns, aquacorns, or what have you, nauticorns out there in the deep oceans or lakes or coastal regions or whatnot. Player characters, or even hanging around shoals or shorelines with the unicorn playing in the surf in some kind of tropical region with soft white sands. PCs might be besieged by high winds, surf, tsunami, any kind of other tentacle like creatures pulling them down into the drink, or getting tangled in foliage down deep into the waters and unable to swim to the surface and being drowned or something. Like the unicorn might live in and around those regions. And maybe on land, a unicorn has four limbs. When it jumps into the water, it has an aquatic tail. Maybe that's what it looks like. Or maybe it's like a seahorse. It doesn't have any legs that we think of. It just has a long tail on it. Or like the narwhals, something has a unicornic horn but doesn't look like a horse, right? Gasper's like, now I love the idea of a postcard of a unicorn just on a surfboard while riding a wave with the text "Wish you were here" written in the corner of it. Yep. Slightly crumpled with that like 1950s pastel colors, a little bit frayed on the edges. Yeah, a little bit going yellow. Yep. Maybe with its horn sticking through the roof of one of these old cars from like the 1950s or 60s. Yep. Uh, white wall tires and everything, playing some doo-wop music, Beach Boys and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't a unicorn hang around in a coastal region, or a quadacorn be there where there's a during the age of piracy, this happens to be the hidden bay that happens to be protected from any storm. Like no storm has ever hit this region, and someone happens to find it, and that's where the unicorn lives. And the pirates, maybe the pirates have changed their pirating ways. Maybe they are like freeing slaves that have been captured for piracy, or they are trying to stop an invasion from a rival nation or something. And the pirates have kind of gone native, and for whatever reason, like hell, like in the show Black Sails, I think it was only 3 seasons of that show, maybe 4. Some of the player characters kind of like, despite being very selfish, they ended up banding together, as some of their number were captured and put to the stockades and paraded around the goodly people that were coming over from the European theater, and to be killed as people gathered, because that's what people did back in the day, right? They gathered together to see an execution, hangings. Maybe they saw some other kinds of tortures. What's the other one where you get lined up against the wall, and firing squads, that kind of stuff. So people used to hang around that. Maybe the player characters are being led by the unicorn to, it's a constant case of, let's go after the unicorn. Oh, it's another fetch quest, right? Like the unicorn keeps putting the player characters in the way of something. And so every time they try to explore this new realm, even a place that they don't understand, they keep turning the corner and finding themselves pulled into the social machinations of these different factions and whatnot. Or they're tracking the unicorn down, and they hear someone screaming for help in a spiked pit, and they get there and they help save that person, and then they go after the unicorn again, and they find a tribe that's been besieged by a disease, and they move on again, and they meet people that have been possessed, or they meet zombies, or a ghost that is restless, that wants to that is searching for a lost child, and the ghost just can't stop, and they help the ghosts settle the ghost spirit or something, and yet again they go after the unicorn. And so I could imagine a unicorn being like the host of an extended travel through an unmapped realm, as the PC's like, where it says here be dragons, it could be like, here be the unicorn, you'll never find it. And maybe the ultimate goal is like, I've just crested 19th level, once I get to 20th level we'll finally get to the unicorn. And it, like, the whole time they were like, we're going to kill the unicorn, and once they get to 20th level they're like, nah, just wanted to pet you, rub my hands through your mane, and that's it. Thanks, uni. And the unicorn's like, see, told you. I'll see you later. Like Gaster Two-Soul says, a host to a series of strange and wondrous journeys in adventure, which maybe that's the unicorn's way of being a celestial being, recruiting more people to its side, right? How do we know that unicorns aren't the army recruiters of the celestial planes, where the celestials are getting together, playing cards, like, we have a quota of bringing goodly people into our realm. And they're like, yeah, but those fiendish people, they keep cheating and drawing our goodly souls down into the nether realms. All right, well, make a call to the unicorns and have them bring enough souls here for us on our side, or maybe get them ascended. And they're like, all right, boss, we'll be back. Yep, Gaster's like, AKA the opposite to a series of unfortunate events. Yeah. Or the unicorn's the ultimate I told you so. As the PCs are like murder hoboing their way through the world, and the unicorn's shaking his head like, should have followed me. They're like, F you, unicorn, you just keep leading us into trouble. The unicorn's like, there's a reason why I'm testing you guys. But again, like the idea of like traps and puzzles and riddles. Maybe the unicorn is setting up the PCs to stumble upon these traps and riddles and whatnot. Finding the old man that keeps giving the PCs, or stumbling upon a sphinx or something, or some other kind of mythological creature or being or whatever that gives the PCs a puzzle or riddle that the PCs are carrying yet again with them. And like, man, this unicorn is, I don't know, what walks on 4 limbs and then 2 and then 3, or as big as a mountain but weighs nothing. I don't know. Doesn't appear at night but appears when the rising sun and disappears again. Hey, check for traps. Hey, morning. Yeah, guys, by the way, we've gone past our hour mark. We check for traps, and Mr. Holloway and I will be having our little interviews this evening. So I'll decide how I'm going to broadcast that. We might record it on Zoom and then broadcast it later. I don't know if I'll go live with it. We'll talk about it. I'll send you a message because I do have to get off to work. But yeah, good to see you. You're all DMs hanging around too. So say what's up to your fellow content creator. Glad to be in this group. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Tomorrow is Future Friday. And yes, strangely enough, we will be talking about unicorns on Future Friday, where we talk about everything far future from from Victorian era on up. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I am DBJ. I am a writer for Critical Hit Publishing. As you can see to my side here, I write the cinematic environments with my cohorts Alex and Rob, and right now I'm in contract with EN World where I got to get the writing for them too, which I'm so happy about. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me on this third Pillar Thursday. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you. Man, this is awesome. Unicorns on Future Friday. I wonder what that's going to be like. It's going to be strange, but I think you guys will get it. Anyway, see you later.